Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Today we have back in the chair Anthony Lee. Hello Anthony.
Hello.
For those who are not sure of your work or have not seen Seller Sessions before, do you want to give the guys a little bit of background on yourself?
Okay, the brief background. I've been a seller of my own brands of products on Amazon for about 3 years now. In that time period, I've also been the COO of Zonblast, which is currently one of the largest and definitely the first launch services for Amazon sellers. And I also work as a partner in the paid mastermind Zon Squad. So, and author of 2 books on how to sell on Amazon.
Superb. Okay, so we're kind of crossing over into your workspace, if you like, because today we're going to talk about launch sequence, whereas before we done optimization of listings. So guys, you can go back and watch those. They're available on YouTube if you search for Seller Sessions. But obviously, as part of the first step of the foundation, let's quickly talk about what needs to be optimized, and then obviously the guys can refer back to the video.
Okay, so real brief, what needs to be optimized on specifically on your Amazon listing? We talked about the title, how that affects the canonical URL, which you may find yourself using in promotions. Although a lot of people have been having great success with the storefront URL.
Which
That
we'll
little hack,
discuss. Yeah,
that
we'll
little
discuss
hack
that.
was shared recently,
Yeah.
so that was a good one too. Your images, which are super, 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 probably in my opinion, the most important thing in your entire listing. Your bullets and description, which obviously carry the SEO weight, as well as the sales copy that ideally will persuade your audience. Your back end keywords, which have always been important and we're always talking about because Amazon always changes how they index those, and that's been going through a recent change too, which we can talk about if you like. Your reviews, specifically the first handful, research has shown it's really important for you to get, the first 21 reviews. After that, it's your star rating that that has the biggest impact on your conversion rate. And then, of course, how readable your copy is for your potential customers. You want it to flow. It's got to talk to the spiders, but you also want it to speak to the customers so they get a sense for what it is that they're hoping to buy. And then optimizing all of that again for mobile, because mobile has different rules.
Excellent. So basically, guys, you can revert back to that video. There's a complete granular breakdown. We went for about an hour on that, didn't we? So I'd rather refer back this because this is a different subject. So let's move into phase 2. Let's talk about the customer validation stage of the launch sequence.
Okay. So the very first thing that you'll want to do to kind of gather what you refer to as customer validation, which we call social proof a lot of times, those are your reviews. The reviews are important to a degree. Internal research at Amazon has shown that it's not the end all be all. So people who are saying you need more reviews, they're not sharing the whole story because the data does not suggest that. But the research has shown that the first 21 is crucial. Now that's an average number and it'll depend on your niche, but you're looking at a range between 25 and 50.
Yeah.
Typically anything beyond that, the number doesn't matter anymore. It's just the star rating. But to get to that first bit of number it's really important, just because you will be outperformed by lower star rating products if you only have 1, 2, 3 reviews. You can imagine how poorly you will perform at 0 reviews. Now, if you have a really awesome, crazy, unique product that happens to be going viral, you might not suffer that. You might put your product up and then overnight it'll be a success. That doesn't happen to everybody. For your average seller, you really need to prioritize getting those first few reviews. And how I do it's pretty old school. It's not complicated at all. I operate my online business is the same that I would operate a brick and mortar. So the very first thing I do is go to friends and family, go to my network, just because they like if I opened a retail chain, they'd be the first people I call to say, hey, I opened up a store, come to the grand opening or come, check out what we have. We have this new line of whatever. Aunt Sally, I know you love that kind of stuff. Ask them for their feedback. Amazon says that shouldn't happen. They don't like it because they think it could be skewed or biased, but I think that's a really ridiculous rule. And in my experience, it's never led to anything more than the review being removed. Because I think Amazon also understands the rationality behind, going to your network first. Those are the first people that are going to find out that you have a product for sale anyway. So you want to leverage that. If you don't have a network to go to, or if you find that is just proving to be difficult, you do have other options. Another perfectly above board way of doing it is to go to Facebook groups or forums online with communities that kind of rally behind whatever it is, whatever problem it is that your product solves. Those groups and forums are typically receptive to, if they're receptive to your type of product. For example, if you sell a pet product and then you go to these groups and forums that are just all about pets. Now, you have to check with the administrator to see if you're allowed to self-promote, but you can always put you don't even have to give a discount at all, or you could put like a 10% discount. I think that still triggers a verified, and then just go in there and say, hey, we just launched and we'd love your feedback. Obviously that doesn't guarantee sales, but if you preface it saying we're looking specifically for product feedback in the form of reviews, if it's a responsive group, you might actually get a few from that. And then of course you can do the same with like blogger outreach. If you find people who write on the subject of the niche that your product is in, you can have them offer that 10% discount and write about the product. Now, you gave them the product for free, but they're not reviewing it. They're writing about it. Their audience will then ideally respond in kind by purchasing your product and then letting the world know how they feel. Just make sure that it's easy to review your product. That means that you need to include the link directly to the review of your product in any communication. Click here to review. Click here to give your feedback. Just make sure that you make it easy for people. You don't want them to have to hunt you down. Now, that takes a lot of time and relationship building. For those of you who might not have as much time to dedicate, or who maybe have difficulty in building those relationships from time to time, maybe networking isn't your strong suit. There are other ways to operate your business, but I preface this with what I'm about to share with you is actually against, according to the strict verbiage of Amazon's terms of service. That does not mean you have to engage in this, and that does not mean that myself, Seller Sessions, or Danny endorse this in any way. It's just we give you the option so that you choose how you want to run your business. Some people look at it like I do. I think that their rules against incentivized reviews are ridiculous. Keep in mind, what's against terms of service is not against the law. So this isn't a moral issue. This is just how you want to run your business. With that, we've seen some people run campaigns that have been extraordinarily successful in getting reviews. One way is through building your own list. You'll build your own list in a couple different ways. You'll either do a lot of off Amazon marketing by way of actually selling on like your Shopify store, or you'll run Facebook ads or other types of ads that go directly to your list. In both of these instances, you are building your own email list. If you have targeted your audience correctly, and this is an email list of responsive people who will or have bought your product, then you can basically email them. I know for a fact that this works because I have a buddy who just did this probably 3 weeks ago. And you say, hey, we have this product. I will give you a free bottle, box, bag, whatever it is that your product comes in, if you will give us feedback in the form of a review. All you have to do is send a screenshot of the review and with your address, and we'll send you the product. That has worked tremendously well. A buddy of mine wanted to get his first 30 reviews for a brand new product and achieve that within 72 hours by using that exact. He has his own list, and he sells bottles. He said, I'll give you a free bottle. All you got to do is leave a review. And I think like he ended up getting like 35 or so out of that. So it worked to a T perfectly. Again, this is entirely against Amazon's terms of service, but the reason that you can do that is because it's all taken care of outside of Amazon's system. So there's no coupons involved. There's no internal communications within Amazon's system involved. It's literally you are a company with a branded product, and you're offering an incentive, a promotion incentive to an external customer that just happens to take place partially on Amazon's system.
A lot of the big, sorry to jump in there, but a lot of the big brands do that. I mean, we know of some of the world's largest private label brands have been collecting email addresses and data based on the warranty, as you like, and it's all those people that get marketed to. So you're correct. There's elements where it's beyond TOS. There's the grey area. There's the black hat area, and I think it comes down to the personal pendulum of the person who's doing it. Because you got people out there who scream blue murder about white hat, black hat, and everything else. But then I suppose if they had it tough launching a product, suddenly that 15 grand they've put down, they'll follow this, but obviously they won't be shouting about it on Facebook. So I think what you're looking for is, where does your moral compass lie? And yes, it's great to get organic reviews, without a doubt. But I think you just got to choose where you sit with the system. It's a bit like appending email sales data, isn't it? It's like grabbing some of the previous sales information on Amazon when there was the phone number in place. Sometimes the address is enough, and giving it to a third-party company. There's Amazon software in the ecosystem that does email appending, don't they? So
yep.
There are many ways to do it. Yeah, PayPal groups.
I want to be very, very clear about this. What I'm sharing with you, none of it can be considered black hat. I know there's some confusion about what the definitions are. Yeah. Black hat is something that is either illegal, harmful, or purposefully manipulates a system in place that's designed to not do what it is that you're trying to do. Yeah. What we're talking about is, like I said, against TOS, but against TOS does not mean against the law or otherwise morally bad. It's just whether or not you want to follow some of the strict guidelines that Amazon has placed or not. Yeah. I didn't say tell people they have to give you a 5-star review. I said ask for their honest feedback. You're just giving them a free bottle or bag or box in exchange for that feedback. And how you can do that is directly through your email list. The next one, actually, I was going to mention Facebook ads. Look, so a lot of people don't have an email list yet. What you can do is actually take the address data from your customer base. Now, you still have to have made sales on Amazon. You can take your address data from your customer base on Amazon, feed it into Facebook, create a custom audience, and that custom Facebook audience will actually hopefully match a whole bunch of those addresses to
it's normally about 70%, isn't it? Generally,
it depends. I've had some lists that only did 50, and some I've seen do 85. But if you get a big enough audience there, you can run ads to them, and you can actually run ads specifically incentivizing in the same way that you would do your email list. You could say, hey, get a free this, and then run it just to your actual customers. Or if you want to experiment, expand it to those customers and like friends of theirs too, just to see what kind of reaction you get. But either way, you can run Facebook ads, and those can also lead to verified reviews. PayPal groups you had mentioned. Yeah. This is a unicorn. I know they exist. I have no idea where to find them. Because I'm not looking, because I'm not trying to. But I do know that, like, if you go to Reddit, there's a subreddit, products for review, I think it's called, and they talk about review group. Now they're a nasty bunch. They will basically they demonize anybody that does anything against the terms. So if you ask about PayPal groups, they'll probably yell at you, but that also might mean that if you get that attention, that somebody from a PayPal group will private message you and say, hey.
That's very much unlike the Reddit community to be like that, was it? They're not normally an overzealous bunch, are they?
Yeah. So, but anyway, so that's how you might have to find it. But these groups do exist. And what a PayPal group is essentially where you are giving, like, you get the people to buy your product at full price, and then you give them a PayPal payment of the price of the product. Now you can set a lot of that up on your own too if you have a big enough network. If you want to do it that way, if you don't want to, if you feel like you'll get a better response from, like, your friends and family, if you tell them, hey, it's going to be free, that's another way you can do it. But there's also people out there that have cultivated groups, and that's how they do it. They get full price sales, and then you PayPal them. And then, of course, like I mentioned, using your own email list on, or your own list of customers on Facebook ads. And then you were mentioning appending emails. Yeah. I believe Managed by Stats still does that. I don't know of other ones that do that, but
I wasn't going to mention any names, but they pretty much they do an email appending.
Well, I mean, it's a pay, like, I don't work for them. I know you don't work for them. It's a paid service that they have. I mean, I'm sure they'd love it if somebody jumped from over there to buy that service, but I don't know much about appending. If you want to talk about email appends real quick.
They're just basically, they try and they take the data that they have and match it to the data that is required, and there's not always a match. It's always based on a percentage again. So the more data that you have to offer, the more chance they have of finding the email address, So
they're actually giving you real email addresses, though. That's what you're getting from them.
Well, what they're trying to do is create the match to do a search to find whether they can take the name and the address and say the telephone number and come up with the email address, or come up with a different part of the missing address set. I don't use email appending myself, but generally what it means is that you've got an incomplete set. And so what you're doing is they're going to hit their databases or go through their protocols to pull up that information that, if it's readily available, they'll access it and that provide that for you. But they need to have some matching information from the start. So we've gone through stages where Amazon is no longer showing the phone number, which has obviously had a knock-on effect for creating the audiences, custom audiences on Facebook, because it's one less attribute. You never got the email addresses with Amazon, did you ever? Because they used a what's the word for it? They use the
encrypted
so
email address.
That's right. So you never pulled.
I don't think, this is just my opinion, but I don't think that their target was ever to make custom audiences more difficult, because I think Amazon doesn't
They just
mind
didn't want people to contact their customers.
I think they did that specifically. I've noticed everything Amazon does has a very specific effect on a service. Yeah. And I think they did that specifically to make appends more difficult, because I think that what they want more than anything is for us not to have their customers' email addresses. Yeah. And they do everything in their power to hide that. And when people were just able to give the phone numbers and then match them to email addresses, Amazon was like, that is
if you take it into another perspective, right? Around that time when what came first? October 4th last year was the big drop with the email addresses. I mean, I think we were doing ranking factors that night. We were doing a different webinar, weren't we? And that news broke.
We did that hangout, and it literally happened while we were doing it. That's right. My gosh, I remember that.
So you think it's like that you get the knock-on effect, and I can't remember if the timelines match, but I think you could also consider when the review thing kicked in, the phone number thing happened afterwards, didn't it? when they started to restrict the phone number. So I think what happened
No,
maybe...
the phone number was before the reviews.
Was it before the reviews? Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I'm trying to remember, but there's always those little patches, isn't there, where you'll do one thing, it affects another. It's just like at the moment, if you noticed, where people are opting out of mails. Because Amazon squeezed on one end, people become abusive on the other. Do you see what I mean? More overzealous on the other part. But yeah, they had their reason. It's their customers. And originally, I think, it's maybe the reason why they left the numbers in place is because if you do need to contact a customer for any reason, then the number's there. But
well, yeah, they want great customer service. If they can't give it, or if they're not in the position to give it, then they want their third-party sellers to give it. But at the same time, they want to maintain control. So they've done a good job at that. So anyway,
yeah, sorry,
it limits our ability to have as much, and because that's what all this is about, right? When we're talking about getting reviews, we're just talking about who has control over the situation. Amazon tries to maintain as much control as possible. All you can do is utilize what tools or people you have access to.
Yeah.
And as a business owner, I personally think it is your responsibility to your business and the growth of your business to leverage what you have access to in order to make it work. So that's why we give you these tools, in hopes that you find a way that you are comfortable with and can afford to get those reviews, and then ideally build your sales.
Yeah.
Because we want that competition. We want you to compete with us.
That's it. And section 3, let's move into section 3 now and talk about the stage of visibility. So what's your take on terms of auto campaigns, manual campaigns, sponsored ads, AMS?
Well, my take, I'll touch on all of those first, kind of to give an overarching idea of what it is that why I think this visibility is important. When you go on a crowded marketplace like Amazon, you're talking about some millions of pages of catalog pages of products, right? Like millions of eyes every day all over the catalog. There'll be certain brands that people run across that are just generally known. I mean, not everybody knows every brand, but just generally a larger swath of individuals will know because they're big brands. And then you have all these third-party sellers selling their little brands of things that nobody's ever heard of. You're one of those people when you're starting on Amazon. You have a brand that nobody's ever heard of, unrecognizable logo. Even if you built a following, it's not going to be as big as Nike's. So once you get on Amazon, like, you might have been a big fish in a smaller pond, but once you get in the Amazon pond, you're a minnow for the most part, and you have whales all around you. How do you get past that? And the answer is you just have to be visible. Visibility allows your brand the ability to be in front of people repeatedly, so their exposure, even if it's limited, even if it's only the few hundred sessions a day that you get to your listing from driving all of this traffic, their exposure slowly increases your customer base, increases your, the people who will advocate for your brand and be loyal to your brand. So you have to chip away at it. And how you do that is by taking every marketing avenue you have access to. So the first place to start is with auto sponsor product campaigns. And the reason you want to start with auto is because it doesn't matter how much keyword research you did, you don't know for sure what keywords your particular audience and your particular niche on Amazon will respond to. Every marketplace, buyers react differently. They interact differently with the website. eBay buyers are very different from Amazon buyers. So you're looking for the specific way that Amazon buyers are finding and interacting with your product. The best way to gather that data is by using Amazon's system itself. And Amazon gives you the option to do that by turning on an auto campaign. A lot of people are mistaken in thinking, if I give Amazon the control over my ads, it's probably not going to be profitable. I shouldn't do that. No, you're probably right. It probably won't be profitable, but you're not paying for ad conversions at that point. You're paying for data. When you turn on the automatic ad, you give it a solid 10 days or 15 days to run, then you can pull the keyword report and look and just see what keyword, because it's going to run it. It's going to run it for every keyword that it can possibly find that you're indexed for. So then you just look and see what keywords people responded to. This will help validate the keywords that you've already done research for. And it'll also probably uncover some longer tail ones that you didn't think of or didn't know existed. So, and then on top of that, it gives you a broad blanket of visibility for a little while anyway. And you might even decide you want to continuously run them. I mean, I have auto campaigns for all of my products that run in perpetuity that I never turn off, because just it's that blanket that I need, I want to be there just in case I snag, some interaction with.
Do you know what they're also, I would like to address, they're also good for is validating the ideas of the keywords as your foundation you had at the very beginning. So the ones that you come up with, it helps you know if you're moving on to the right track, giving you, because you got to look at the relevance, and you got to look at the velocity of the impressions for certain keywords, because without impressions you're not going to get anywhere in terms of conversions. First, you're going to need impressions. You're also going to need relevance. Then you're going to need click-through. Then you need sales, don't you? So you must have high-velocity keywords. So, sorry, I'm just jumping in here.
Go
on.
You must have high-velocity keywords if you want to jump out of the gate with profitable ads.
Mm-hmm.
But we're actually finding really good success with low velocity keywords and just having them in the thousands.
Mm-hmm.
Like campaign after campaign of 2, 3, 4, 5,000 long tail keywords that may only get 5 impressions a month, but our ACoS is running it between like anywhere from 0.5 to 10%.
But you've got to, in order to have a long tail and diversity of keywords, yes, you need to be in a niche, or you call it a niche, that has some level of velocity to contain the long tail keywords, definitely.
And that's going to have high velocity short tail keywords. So you're right, like for sure. But that's like category level though stuff.
Yes.
Like make sure that when you go into a category, it's a category that gets enough traffic at all. Do not, I'll tell you right now, do not. My friend was looking at this product, no lie. She was like, this might be cute. It's she was thinking about getting into like a character toilet brush for a kid's character toilet brush for like the kids bathroom.
Yeah.
And I looked at the numbers on that and I'm like, nobody's buying this product on Amazon. Like the numbers aren't there. So don't go into that. That's very low velocity all the way around. But I was just saying, with regards to sponsored product ads, there's a couple different ways you can go. High velocity, and that should be one campaign, and then low velocity, but lots of them should be a different campaign, and all of this leads to greater visibility, and that leads us to the manual campaign. So this is where you take your keyword data, your research that you initially did, and whatever you glean from your auto campaign, and you start running manual sponsored product ads. I am not the PPC guru by any means, but I will say that we've had the best success with phrase match, just because broad is too broad and exact is too exact. So what we do is we separate our campaigns, those that we don't necessarily think we're going to make a lot of money off of because they're really, really high competition, but we need the visibility anyway. We put that in one campaign. And yes, we pay for ads that we know we lose money on. But it's important for us to be on the pages that those ads put us on for that keyword, because they're very, very important keywords. Visibility. Then we have campaigns for shorter tail keywords that we want to actually optimize and make money on. And then we have the long tail campaigns, which just, they're 4+ words usually, and they don't get a whole lot of velocity at all, but we have them by the thousands so that every now and again they hit, and when they hit, it's profitable. So that's how we structure our sponsored ads, but all of that leads to greater visibility. Focus on relevance. That was the note I see here for manual campaigns, and I like how you say that because, for campaigns, relevance is important because that's how you get impressions. But now, because Amazon decided to flip-flop how they're doing indexing in the back end again, relevance is more important than it ever has been.
Yeah.
Which That can be difficult though. How do people figure out like every single keyword that's relevant? But you know, that's why you just have to constantly, either you or you have to pay somebody to just be in that data. You have to be sifting through these reports and be in that data to see. And then you can force some of that relevance too by taking advantage of stuff that I've been telling people to take advantage of for years now, but a lot of people didn't listen. So now listen. Your subject matter keywords, your target audience, all those extra places in the back of your listing that everybody's like, nah, I don't know what this is, I'm not going to fill it out. It helps with relevance. So fill it out. Like, it literally tells Amazon's system what other things, categories, and connections your product is relevant for. So, sorry, that was a soapbox, a little tangent.
It's fine.
When you do that, though, it helps you get more impressions for your sponsored product ads too, thus greater visibility. And then what was this one? Use few keywords with enough velocity. Yeah, so in the beginning, when you're really trying to target and figure out what like major keywords your product should be visible for, you want to find those keywords that have tremendous amount of velocity. So you're talking about like the short tail, the big one, like garlic press, for example, would be huge keyword. And you want to focus on where exactly your product fits in that. Using few keywords with enough velocity to start your campaigns, to gather data, is really important, because what it does is it tells you actually some really important things. One, for example, if you have a garlic press, are you at the point in your business, as in, do you have the capital to actually compete with the guys that are on page 1 bidding for garlic press? It's important for you to know that. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to spend all your money until you have none left to be on page 1. It just means you have to know whether or not you can play that game. By doing this, by focusing on those short tail, high velocity keywords on your initial manual campaigns, and focusing on the keyword data from your auto campaigns resulting from high velocity keywords, it lets you know what your strategy needs to be. If you can afford it, turn your PPC all the way up and just be number 1 for every major keyword, done, right? But maybe you're not in that position, so you need to know where it lies. Like, maybe you can't afford to be there, but you can afford to be here, so then you change your strategy. If you can afford to be on page 2 for your ads, you probably want to do some promotions or some other things to organically rank on page 1 so that you're there, and then you're also on page 2. And then if you can't play with the big boys at all, you need to know that. So then okay, well, I need a long tail strategy, because you have to kind of go around. But the only way you're going to find that out is by running those initial ads.
I've got a suggestion that could come into it. Like, obviously the next stage we talk about is AMS. We've explained how to get into AMS, and it's kind of controversial. Some love it, some hate it. Some people think it's the silver bullet, etc. But one thing that the guys can do is, what I like about AMS is, you can use AMS headline ads when you're setting those up to do keyword research, because you've got the low traffic, medium traffic, and high traffic. Even though they don't give you the exact data, they don't give you the impression amount or the search volume. What they're doing is saying, this is a big keyword, this is a medium keyword, this is a low keyword. So that can help quite well in your early initial research stage. Yeah, because from all my campaigns in AMS, I found that as long as it's relative to the category and the subcategory, if something's low traffic, it is low traffic. If something's medium traffic, it is medium. And if it's a high traffic keyword, it is generally high traffic. But then you've got to get the match point for relevance. So here's a little trick that you can do, is if you are in AMS, you can find out what your main 3 keywords are on the product. Go from only mediums and highs. And then what you do is you can set up a manual campaign, put your product in as merchant fulfilled, wait till an early morning to get an idea of how much your cost per click is going to be, is run that and spend money by clicking on your own ads. Because 2 things it will do here. 1, it will show whether your product is relevant enough to show that ad, because you want to find that out before your stock arrives, for instance. And two, even though Amazon gives you ideas of bids, it's not always guaranteed. So you might go and put in a bid for £10 and your click is £5.20, but it might say that starting bids is £2.20 to £3.50. So that is one way of getting around that, to find out where you sit in the marketplace. The next thing is, which is what guys in my group have discussed and got me to look at things in a slightly different way. Rather than looking at the cost per click, look at it as an investment to get to page one, because the numbers doesn't necessarily add up. But if you manage to spend enough on converting keywords, which gives you correlation in organic ranking to get you to page one, then you can back off on your PPC spend once organic velocity is taken over and you're maintaining positions. So that's another way of looking at it.
Well, that was why I said have a separate campaign for keywords that you're willing to lose money on, because you know you need to rank, you need the visibility for.
That's right. Yeah.
That's the campaign those will go into. We're talking about ads as they pertain to visibility, and that is that's important. And the reason why, and it's kind of a difficult sometimes it's hard for people to grasp, and AMS actually follows perfectly into this. So you have your headline ads and your product listing ads in AMS, and you have all these places that you can put your product, and sometimes you might put them there and it won't be profitable, and you're like, why am I paying for these? Instead, the reason that is because the average consumer has to be exposed to a brand a minimum of 7 times before they buy.
Yeah, the 7 to 8 touch points. Yeah.
Every time you show up in the headline, on page 1, on page 2, whenever they go and look for a product, that's another exposure, and it gives you a greater chance of being the one chosen. See, because what people are often mistaken about Amazon buyers is they think that people just go to Amazon, type in a keyword, find the product they want to buy, and then buy it. But that's not how Amazon buyers are at all. That's the reason why things like wish lists and registries exist, because people go and they look for products, and then they compare prices, and they add to wish lists. They add them to a price watcher to see if the price ever goes down, wait for deals. They get on email lists to wait to see if they could get something for a discount. They bookmark stuff. They put it on a registry. They save it for, upcoming holiday to tell their family, hey, this is the gift that I want from Amazon. Like, it's so messy. It's nowhere near as efficient as everybody likes to think it is. And for that reason, the visibility ends up offering you more sales, even if it didn't come through that ad. So you might have a horrible ACOS for a major keyword, but then turn that ad off and suddenly your sales drop 35%. Why is that? It's because when you were visible, you were building a pipeline of people who will eventually come to your listing, not your ad, and buy your product.
So to give the guys a breakdown of what you're saying is we're trying to reach organic status on page 1. Yeah, so you want to be above the fold wherever possible is your goal there. You're using ads across the top and the right rail, depends on where they land and the way that Amazon is optimizing their testing. And then what you're looking at is if you've got 3 products or variations of said products, then you can run the headline ad. So you've got a headline ad, you've got a right rail, you've got an organic position. And then obviously the kicker as well is that you take your first couple of keywords, like your main keywords, go visit page 1 for each, and then set up product ads for those. So what happens is when someone lands on page 1, they may not click on the headline ad at the top, but they'll probably see it as iTest show as they come down the page. Then they'll see the right rail, then they see the organic one, but then they might look at it and go, actually, I'm going to click on the one below, clicks on your competitor's product, they scroll down, they see the buy box, you're under the buy box. As they scroll down even further, they'll see customers also saw this one, and a little bit further below that will show the sponsored ad again. So straight away, you've reached all those touch points with that customer. Now, they may not realize that first time round. They might come out and not click on your ad or click on your ad to purchase, but ultimately, having all that level of visibility subconsciously, they're starting to sit and be a part of your brand.
Yeah, you become a viable brand, a viable competitor to compare to the other people that they're looking at that point. You become a part of that pool. And then from there, it's your listing copy, your images, and your optimization that's going to make the difference between whether or not they choose you or the competitors. So there's a lot of levels here. All you
Yep.
really can do is just put yourself out there as much as possible. And leveraging all of the paid marketing channels that Amazon offers is one of the best ways for you to spend your marketing dollars to make sure that you can do that.
And the other thing to point out is that AMS is like, it's not a silver bullet. I want to make it clear because there's been some backlash on AMS, and what it is like saying AMS is shit. It's a bit like going onto Amazon, selling a garlic press, not promoting it, and then saying Amazon's broken and don't bother doing FBA. Mm-hmm. That's what it's like. So, because a lot of times is people are using AMS, one, as a silver bullet, two, they're taking a shitty product that's flopped and they're expecting it to suddenly work because they put it through AMS. And the next thing is that their category is expensive. AMS is a channel. Facebook ads is a channel. Google ads is a channel. Sponsored ads are a channel for
even
visibility.
Different.
Yeah.
It's a channel for visibility. I was going to say even different than that. You could look at Amazon as a whole as a channel, and all of these are just channel
sub-channels,
channel accelerators, it's just, bonus points to help, that channel get the success and the traction that it needs. So, and they won't work, they won't work unless you put the dollars and the time and the effort and the research into them, but also you have to understand what it is that they're there for. Yeah. Just turning on headline ads is not going to suddenly mean that you're going to start making sales every day. And just the same way that Google, like some people still use Google ads for, if you have a product that has a lot of history behind it, has a whole bunch of information about it, maybe it's a new invention, and it's not just for buying but for educating, then you can run Google ads. And there's plenty of people that lose tons of money on Google ads, and they say Google ads are crap. If Google ads were crap, Google would not be one of the most influential and powerful
it's the most powerful advertising platform in the world. It is, hands down, the number one platform.
So it's not, just, and AMS is the same way. It's not crap. You got to know what it's there for. So utilize it for the visibility. Anyway,
Section 4. Let's go into sales velocity stimulation. This is, I think this may be a part of your background, isn't it? A little bit about this kind of stuff.
A little bit. So, first thing you have to understand is, kind of going back to the rudimentary nuts and bolts of it all. Ideally, how you get noticed first, added to cart, and then purchased is by ranking highly for relevant keywords, right? So if you sell a garlic press, somebody types in garlic press, and your garlic press is number 1 or 2 or 3 on the list, obviously that increases your chances of getting that sale. How do you get there? Because it's kind of like, double-edged sword, right? Well, how do people get there? Obviously, because they're popular, they make a lot of sales. Well, if you're brand new, how can you be popular and make a lot of sales? So we did a bunch of digging and found out Amazon's algorithm, the way it works, it ranks products based on sales velocity, sales history, a little bit on conversion rate, some other listing interactions. But essentially what they're looking for is products that people will like and have liked and will buy and have bought. So they prioritize the ranking based on that with regard to the specific keyword. So Amazon prioritizes the products with regard to the keyword based on that products that appear to be popular, appear to be products they will buy or have bought in the past. So sales velocity, like I said, sales history, these are really important. How can you affect that as a brand new product, or even not a brand new? Maybe you're just somebody that doesn't have any visibility. Maybe you're way down in the rankings. Well, you can stimulate sales velocity and also by proxy sales history, as well as conversion rate and listing interaction, and essentially send all the signals to Amazon's algorithm that your product is in demand and therefore deserves to be ranked higher by running promotions. And Amazon knows this, which is the reason why it gives you the ability to run promotions in the first place. You have the ability to give coupons that significantly reduce, or not significantly, just reduce the price of your product, making it temporarily more attractive to entice buyers so that you can get the traction that you need so that you can have a successful product, a successful listing, and then everybody makes more money at that point. So Amazon allows you the ability to create these promo codes. So what you do with these promo codes is you disperse them to stimulate an influx of temporary high velocity sales. Now, how you maintain more control, because we were talking about control, right? Amazon loves to have control over everything, but you as a business owner need to maintain some level of control. So how you maintain more control over that promotion process is by diverting the traffic specifically towards avenues that may help in your efforts for ranking for specific keywords. So you can do that by manipulating the canonical URL so that the canonical URL has a desired keyword phrase in it, and then running the promotions to that URL. You can also use your storefront URL. When you use your storefront URL, you can actually put a keyword or key phrase in the search box, press search, and then grab that URL, and it will be a keyword embedded URL. Essentially what that does is it attributes all of the sales velocity to a specific keyword, essentially telling Amazon's algorithm, hey, not only is my product relevant, but it's particularly relevant for this keyword. So when the ranking happens, it happens for that keyword or that key phrase. Some people, we've seen some success. Some people have had with Twitter links, because Amazon also really likes social shares. That seems to have a more broad increase in ranking for all keywords involved, particularly out of the title, just because it doesn't focus on one specific. It's not as laser targeted, but you should see some decent, if not anything else, temporary ranking love, because Amazon does really like the social sharing aspect. On that same note, too, you can drive a lot of traffic and interactions with your listing, and ideally sales, which are also going to be conversions and sales history and velocity, through influencer traffic. As I mentioned before, reaching out to the bloggers. You can also actually try to reach out to YouTubers as well. Anybody that has an audience that you can essentially
try to...
Can I
just jump in here? I mean, there's been a lot of talk of influencer traffic, and I'm sure it does work. But I think it's one of those, it's a bit like deal sites. It can be short-lived as well, can't it? Is that I know people that run the traffic and they may have a boom for one day and then it literally evaporates the next day.
I've never seen influencer traffic sustained ever. No, yeah. You're absolutely right. Unless somebody humongous like Gary Vaynerchuk endorses your product, chances are it's going to be a small boost. But we're just talking about things that you can do to get those boosts, to get that velocity rank in the short term, to aggregate it overall so that you end up with something that averages out to be, good, at least in the eyes of the algorithm by the end of the month.
The reason I said it, because I think a lot of people see it as, influencer traffic is either cheap or free, so they go down that route. But there's the plus sides and there's the good and the bad sides of everything, isn't there? Sometimes you have to pay for very highly targeted traffic, and then on the other side, it might be just short-lived.
Yeah, well, the cheaper the influencer traffic, the shorter-lived it will be.
Yeah. So,
like, if you find somebody that's charging you $1,500, it's because they have a large audience, and I guarantee you, it's going to last. That the effects of that will last longer than
they know their value.
You just gave the product for. So anyway, and then another way that you can affect this and actually take kind of more targeted control over your promotions is by using an external service such as ZonBlast. Essentially, what we have at ZonBlast is a very large list of Amazon buyers, and what we do is we put your offer in front of them, and like segments of that list, and what that does is it facilitates extremely high velocity sales. We have proprietary URL structures that will ensure that a specific set of keywords is targeted so that the ranking juice goes to those keywords. So it's just more control over your promotions. So because all Amazon does, it gives you the ability to do the coupons, but you really need to have a little bit more control over that. Like how many people are going to see it? How many, how can I affect conversion rate by only giving it to people who show up on my listing, and can I affect this specific keyword? And by using a service like ZonBlast, or by taking avenues that allow you that control, you will have the ability to, I guess, master your destiny when it comes to ranking.
Yeah, sounds good. And what about the mail follow-up sequences? Obviously, that's going to play an important part, kind of sews everything together that you're doing.
Well, not just sews everything together, but it is the way that you will sustain review growth, because you need to be getting reviews. Like, you can do the push for your initial reviews, but I mean, you can't give out free product or do all these things that skirt TOS forever just to keep getting reviews. Like, you have to have that review machine moving so that you're at least, that shows you the growth of your product, that shows your potential customers the growth of your product, and it continuously puts you in a better competitive state. Like, even though the number doesn't matter, that rating does. And if you have a good product and you can maintain I'm telling you, as a buyer, if you have 1,000+ reviews and you've maintained a 4.5 review rating, dude, the 4.5 stars, that looks great. That is going to significantly affect my decision to buy your product. So you want to be able to turn that machine on and head towards that. And how you do that is with a mail follow-up sequence that's automatically triggered from events in the buying sequence, buying the product, having it shipped. Amazon's API allows for this, and that's why there are third-party services out there that integrate with Amazon's messaging API and give you the ability to communicate with your buyers. Now, obviously, they can opt out now, but that's fine. Even not everybody does opt out. I mean, so the ones that do, you can appeal to them. So what you'll do there is, first you got to figure out what communications you want to send. In our experience, in our testing, and in our own brands, myself and my colleagues within ZonBlast and Zon Squad and all the communities that I have the good fortune to touch, we have seen that, first of all, the best way to go is just to be genuine. Typically, we send out a thank you email. That's usually the first email. We try to make it helpful, though. My philosophy as I used to be a copywriter. So my philosophy as a copywriter is give people a reason that you're sending, like, have a reason to send them a message. And so I typically like to put FAQs or instructions in that first that thank you email, because then it's more of a reason than just thank you. It's like, thank you for your support. Oh, and by the way, here's some stuff that'll help you get the most out of your product. And we've seen a lot of success with that. And then I typically try to keep the number of emails that we send out on the low end, because you don't want to give people a reason to think that you're being annoying or a reason not to open your next one. So usually I do 2 email sequences. If you have a really complex product, you can do 3. Or if you have a consumable, you might save that third for like way down the road to remind them, hey, you've probably run out by now. You should get more. It's a good way to try to get people on your subscribe and save list. But for the most part, we do 2 email sequences. The first one's a thank you with helpful information. The second one is the appeal for feedback, and that is how we address it. We're looking for product feedback. We want your unbiased opinion on the product. Like, did it do what you wanted it to? Did it serve your purposes? Can you give us some idea of improvements if you have any? And We give them a link to the review. We give them a link to message us directly if that's, something that they want to do to communicate with us. And we've seen a decent response from that. Usually our review rates are hovering in a pretty good range. But how you can take control over maximizing that, for starters, always pay attention to the metrics. So you should look at things like your open rates. One thing that a friend of mine who runs a feedback service found out was open rates would decrease over time. And the reason is because when you're constantly sending out email with the same subject line, over time, email providers would start immediately putting those in spam folders. So like gradually putting them into spam folders. So less and less people were even getting the email at all.
So what are you saying? Are you talking about the messages that you send out, them 2 in a row with the same subject line, or are you saying because you're sending out loads
you're
with the
sending
same?
Loads of them. So that
you need to change your
email
subject.
Number one has this subject line, and you're sending it to 10, 20, 30, 50 people a day, however many units you sell. Over time, the email service providers start spam, like, oh, that must be spam.
So where you're optimizing for your subjects, thinking that why does it keep going down? Part of it's down to the deliverability, isn't it?
That's right. So by knowing your metrics, you can keep track of that. So as soon as you start seeing your open rates decreasing, change up that subject line.
And that starts by selecting a service that does actually offer open rates, because not all do.
They don't. That's I use Cash Cow Pro, for example. They have that. I know that others do too. I have no idea who, though. There's a lot of services out there now. But you find one where you can keep track of that. That's a good metric to keep track of too. I like how we were discussing this, and you say this a lot. Avoid snake oil copy. I mean, obviously, like I said, be genuine. Like you can't go in there and always be trying to pitch. Like you're developing a relationship. When somebody buys from you, essentially you've developed a relationship. You might not look at it that way, but I promise that's the way it is. If for no other reason, they've literally given money to you, put it in your pocket, and allowed you to buy food with it. That's a relationship. You have a connection with that person now. So the best way to go about that is just to nurture it by being helpful. Make customer service a very important aspect of your business, and let them know that in these emails. You tell them, look, we're here to try and help you, or we're here to try and make your life better. Ideally, the product did just that, but if you need anything else, you got to let us know so we can fix the issues. Customer service can save you from poor reviews, and actually they usually do a good job of that. Anyway, and then another tactic that some people still use too is you will, over time, you will get a lot of people that leave you product reviews, but they send it to seller feedback. And then some people have email sequences where they include seller feedback link too for feedback, but they still end up with reviews. You're going to end up with reviews in that section. If you ever find yourself in a situation where you have low star rating or it's starting to look a little hairy, you can go back through your seller feedback and email all of those people and say, hey, look, don't ever blame them, because that's not going to go well. But you say, hey, look, Amazon messed up. They put your review in the wrong section. Can you just copy and paste it and put it right here, and then give them a link to your product review with the actual copy of their feedback? You can convert a lot of seller feedback that way. So if you have 4 and 5 stars, and that'll make a difference in your waning star rating, that's a good campaign to run. And I definitely. I mean,
I've been speaking to more and more people recently, and that's become a little bit more tricky in terms of Amazon. Even though it's not outright, they still see that as manipulation in some ways. Do you see what I mean? It depends who you speak to, but
I've seen a suspension over feedback emails. I have.
You have,
but the language, with my own eyes, somebody showed a screenshot and gave us the conversation. The language in the email was blatant. They were saying in the email, in the follow-up email, leave us a 5-star review. And they were sending that to hundreds of people a day. I have yet to see But you got to think too. They have algorithms in place to track that. I have yet to see anybody say that personal communication, one-off communications, randomly without a set script has triggered anything algorithmically, nor have I seen anybody say that they've gotten in trouble for asking for feedback to be moved to
review section. Cool.
Now, I'm not saying that won't happen. I'm just saying personally, and I keep a good eye on this stuff, that hasn't been an issue yet.
No, the reason I said it is because it's interpretation. Your interpretation and my interpretation and someone else all could come with 3 different opinions, and that's the problem with Amazon. Sometimes it's so grey, it's not actually really clear in what they're saying. So we could see it in different lights, depend on the tone of the message. But let's wrap this on the last section now. Right, we've done all these processes, we've gone through in terms of the launch sequence. How do we measure for our success and optimize out from here? Where do we start?
So you have to be able to see what progress you've made or not made, and what benchmarks you've hit or not hit in order to, like, that measuring is the most important part of this. You can't optimize otherwise.
Yeah.
Because optimize is just the tweak. What optimization is course correction.
Yeah.
You're flying the plane, you have to correct the course, but you have to know the direction you're going.
Yeah.
So where you start with that is you got to get familiar with your reports. I'm not saying you need to dig through your Amazon reports, but you should probably use a third-party service that aggregates them so you can look at things. You need to be keeping track of your conversion rate, which is your
so you need to know your business reports pretty much inside out, your sessions and stuff. Yeah.
Look at your sessions to sales ratio. That's your conversion rate. You need to know your things like your ACoS and click through for your sponsored product ads, for your AMS ads. You need to know basically as much as Amazon will give you. So like I said, and then also basic stuff. This is basic. This is rudimentary, like business 101, but a lot of people kind of lose track of it. You need to know what your total advertising costs are compared to your unit costs, and find out like what is your actual ROI, what are your profits every month.
Yeah.
And the reason why you want to know that is because if you don't know how much profit you're making, and you don't know how well you're doing or hitting your benchmarks, you want to know how many units you can allocate for promotions.
Yeah.
You know,
So
like you don't want to put yourself in the red.
Yeah.
Like losing money, right? So you got to look at, okay, well, this is how much I'm spending on ads, and this is how much I have left that I could give up in inventory for promotions and things like that on a monthly basis. So you got to keep track of all that too.
I was going to say, you create a hypothesis right at the beginning, determine on what you're trying to achieve, how many units you think you're going to take to get there. You have to have a basic understanding of it, and obviously do your numbers at the very beginning, because the thing is, the marketplace has changed. I mean, if you go to DannyMcMillan.com, go to freebies, I've got a spreadsheet you can download for all of your private label needs. It covers all your manufacturing, your costs, your break even, your points, units per day, like for sales per day, your profit margins. So download that if you haven't done that already, but you're going to need to know what those numbers are. But I'm finding that when I'm pricing up new products now, is that I'm not looking at, say, getting a 20-30% margin on shipment 1, because I'm spending all my money on promo. I'm looking to break even on the first shipment, 20% margin on the second, and maybe tuck out some of the costs to get it up to 24 to 34% on the third shipment, because obviously the more you manufacture, and things like logistics become cheaper and stuff. But there's definitely that point. You've got to know your numbers before you dive into all this stuff that we spoke about. Do not start doing promos without knowing your numbers.
That's a good strategy to have. See, I did it the other way around. Yeah. I just, like, I would do the same thing. I would promote and try to, and with my first, shipment of a new product or first amount.
Yeah.
But I wasn't planning for that. I would just do it. And then I was wondering, why am I not making any money? And it was because I wasn't tracking these numbers well enough. And I didn't realize that, I lost all that money because my strategy for promoting and ranking left me to break even or go a little bit in the red. And knowing that beforehand, like you do, I would have been better prepared for that shock. It was kind of a shock for me. And then I realized, oh, I should probably plan this out by knowing my
But when you're
financials.
starting out, you just want to do all the sexy stuff. You want to launch it. You want to come up with a product. You want to work on the brand. You don't want to be doing boring shit like the numbers, do you? And break even
Yeah.
points. You're just going to hope, you know, that it's going to carry itself and you're going to make a success. And that's what often happens until obviously people start running low on budget and they go, well, how can I manufacture the next run? And I'm halfway through a cycle. I've got this promo, and a lot of people get caught out on cash flow, don't they? But
Yeah, yeah. Which is why don't be afraid of debt. Leverage what you can,
yeah,
intelligently.
exactly.
It looks sexy when you see these guys posting huge numbers in their 30-day sales, but a lot of them kind of gloss over that there's a lot of nitty-gritty here. Not to scare anybody away though. It's a great thing. It's just, takes some work.
And not only that, but there's tools now that you can manipulate in the browser and change things as they're displayed on the screen. So all the screen grabs that you see, what we call the humble brags, they're not necessarily all true. People cook in the numbers, whether it's Photoshop or they're using it via browser, like the developer tools to make changes. But that's by the by. Right, so we've been going just over an hour now. Do you have anything more you want to add before we disappear?
No, I think that's the basics of start to finish, mindset, launch.
Yeah.
Beyond that, just make sure your product research is on point, because nowadays with all the competition, it really comes down to having a good if you want a chance on Amazon, you got to have a solid product. So just make sure that that's on point. You follow these steps, you'll get in there and you'll start generating some money. It might not be $100,000 a month in sales after your first 2 months, but inch towards that 5-figure mark, and then just do that 10 more times.
Yeah, definitely. So moral of the story, end of today, basically you can't polish a turd. So good product. All right, Anthony, thanks for coming on. How can people reach you if they have you got an email that you can give out, or is there anything you're up to? Your books?
Yeah. readandwritepublishing.com. That's where you can find our books. That's spelled like names.
Yeah.
REID.
You made a mistake of doing that, didn't you?
RIGHT. Yes, that was I would have taken that. I would have done that differently if I could do it over again, but whatever.
Yeah.
We're actually about to release a new one I'm really excited about. All about failure.
Nice.
Yay. Something I excel at.
Yeah.
No. Beyond that, support at Zonblast, Anthony at we're actually rebranding to Six Leaf. So if you want to contact me directly, you can contact me at anthony@sixleaf.com.
And how you spelling the 6? Is it the number?
SIX.
SIX. Okay.
SIXLEAF, Six
Okay.
Leaf. So
Great.
that's just to contact me directly. Otherwise, we still have support at Zonblast up. If you're already a Zonblast customer, if you're interested in Zonblast, you can also reach that.
Yeah.
Or social media. It's not really hard to find.
And also, guys, if you've got questions, this is a pre-record, so drop them in the comments below. Me and Anthony will answer these. Again, like to say thank you. If you first visit to Seller Sessions, hit the subscribe button below. If you need to reach me or Richard, it's danny@sellersessions.com, richard@sellersessions.com. If you want to sign up for the mailing list and go get notifications and freebies, go to sellersessions.com and you can sign up there. So we're out of here. Again, thank you for your time, Anthony.